Vincent's friends and families. We're back with another book, The Mitten.
The Mitten.
I found Jen and Shadow again.
We're hanging out. We're just hanging around.
Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow.
It's a fancy book.
Got it at the library. At first, his grandmother, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow she warned, you'll never find it. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally, Baba made them.
Papa?
After she finished, she said, "When you come home, first I would like to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens." So off went Nicky, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped into the snow and was left behind.
It's so nicely illustrated, this book.
Yeah, very colorful.
It's pretty.
A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then he saw the mitten and he wiggled in it, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over.
They're so cute.
Yeah. A lot of animals in this book. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they moved over. They didn't want to argue with the hedgehog because
Right.
he's prickly.
I suppose they all fit in there in that little mitten.
As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in alone, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, they quickly let him in. Jen is on managing our children duty too.
Keeping an eye on them from the doorway. Mischievous.
Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left, but when they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. So he went in the thumb of the glove.
Oh, they're all
Look at the size of this mitten.
Wow.
It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A raft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room.
So there's no room left. But what do you think?
I wonder if Shadow would go in the mitten.
Well, they would all clear out.
And say, snake. A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. This mitten is huge. It's got a bear about to go in there.
OMG.
The animals were packed in it tightly as they could be. But what animal would argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, Baba needs to go into the market. Making these stretchy mittens.
Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wiggled into one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose.
Aw.
A lot of animals in this mitten. I wouldn't argue with a bear either.
No, I would clear out.
The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Achoo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions.
Oh my gosh.
On his way home, Nicky saw a little white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten silhouetted against the blue sky. As he ran to catch the snow white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens.
That's adorable.
There's Nicky catching his mitten.
Aw, him and his Baba.
Cute.
Baba, what's that? That must be Grandma and I don't know what.
There's a page in here that describes what kind of book this is.
Oh.
It's a Ukrainian folk tale, and Ukraine is a country in Europe. It says, many of the stories I write and illustrate come from my imagination, but others began with a folk tale. The Mitten is one of those tales. I found out about it from 3 teachers who were also good friends. They thought I would like to draw the woodland animals and the snowy scenery of the Ukraine, where the tale comes from. They were so right. The first thing I did was look for all the versions of the story that I could find.
Cool.
Oksana
Oh.
Pizajecki,
Oh gosh.
who is of Ukrainian heritage, transplanted them into English for me. In one telling, animals crawl into an old pot, which breaks into bits when too many animals squeeze in. Another version tells about the hunter who goes back to look for his lost mitten and finds it filled with woodland animals. I like the idea of a mitten filled with animals, but I didn't like having a hunter shooting the animals. So I imagined the boy called Nicky dropping the white mitten knitted by Baba, his grandmother, as he walks through the snow, oblivious to all the animals living in the forest. Once I heard this story, I was ready to draw. But first I visited the Ukrainian section of New York City to find out more about the culture, the houses, the clothes, the traditions. All the Ukrainian museums are guide. Christina gave me lots of good tips. Be sure and put a stork's nest on the cottage roof. It brings good luck, she told me.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
did, and it felt as though it had brought back. I did, and I feel it has brought good luck to me because here I am, 20 years later, still getting wonderful letters from children discovering the mittens for the first time.
Oh.
And that's the author Jan Brett.
Oh, that's
And this
a
is
cute
the
book.
20th anniversary edition.
Cool.
We hope you guys enjoyed the mitten. Thank you, Jen and Shadow, for being my guests.
Anytime.
We hope everyone is doing well and you're happy and healthy. Bye.
Bye.